Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cracking the Crab. As always, it is your host, Jared Shabline with the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. I'm joined by my friend Brian of Shore Issues. How you doing tonight, Brian?
Doing fine. It's hot. It's humid. I think it's going to open up very shortly. Some rain would be appreciated. Man, life is good. Just came from a block party in Tillman. Um, but what you been up to, Jared?
I've been at the Wacomico County Fair the last 3 days, so I've been sitting out in the heat, handing out lit, talking to voters. I was shocked. We had quite a few people from Dorchester, Talbot, Somerset come up. It was a lot more than just Wacomico County, which is always good to see. Speaking of Talbot County, we actually have a fantastic guest tonight, Michelle Dappert, who is a candidate at large for Talbot County. She's also a senior media planner who's been a longtime activist and volunteer with organizations like the Frederick Douglass Honor Society. She has been advocating for the county since she was 16 as a student at Easton High. I've had a chance to get to know her a little bit over the year through my good friend Justin. Let's bring on Michelle and welcome in.
Hey
Good
everyone, how
evening.
are you doing?
Good evening, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm very excited to be here tonight and really appreciate the opportunity to be speaking with you both.
Yeah, no, we're definitely glad to have you. So I guess we'll go ahead and dive right in. And what's it like running and being a Democrat in Talbot County? Your county's changed politically just a little bit over the years.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you know what? It was definitely a different story when I was still a student. We've definitely been moving towards, and we're really a purple county. And I think that's because Talbot County cares about, pragmatic solutions to get things done and doesn't really want to bring in national politics to this level, which I fully support. So there's only a 700 difference registration difference between the Democrats and Republicans, and there are 11,000 independents. And we really just care about getting things done for our constituents here.
So you are a first time candidate, correct?
Yes, I am.
So what's it been like being a first time candidate, kind of canvassing, doing these events? What's it like being on this side of politics?
Yeah, and it's a great question because it's very different because I've been working like you said, thank you for the introduction, since I was like 16, although you can look at pictures. My mom had me campaigning when I was in a stroller, so I've definitely been canvassing, phone banking, organizing kind of my entire life. But being a candidate is definitely a different experience in that, suddenly you're the one that kind of has to come up with the solutions and answers. And it's exciting because it's really also a great opportunity to just get your ideas and then see things change as opposed to constantly working to get other people elected and then basically be disappointed by the fact that they say one thing in the campaign and then don't deliver. And I'm very committed to making sure I don't do that. So it's really been just very exciting getting out, talking to voters, communicating with their issues. There are just across this county in particular, I've noticed a lack of services and a lack of awareness. And that really gets back to the current council just kind of never fully funding the things that are really important, like education, but also last time around, the Democratic Party and the sheriff's office worked together to place a temporary 1 penny per $100 assessed value increase so that we could fund a new ambulance and get additional deputies for the public safety shifts. So, I mean, again, I think that goes to show you the bipartisan nature of Talbot County politics, the sheriff and the Democrats working together. But, and that's just kind of how I am too. And I feel like the council is ready and the county is ready for a new face in leadership.
So it's as you know, I know a little bit about your family and people that are close with you. It seems like you can't really escape political activism, whether it's working to get candidates elected. What's it like having so many, people close to you who have experience? Have you been leaning on them for advice during this campaign? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I also, as a first time candidate, right, I was trained by Emerge Maryland for Democratic women to run for local offices. And they worked with me to find exactly really what issues were most important to me, what county level office or municipal office or statewide office, they were open to anything, would make the most sense to deliver on issues that were important to me. And we kind of settled on Talbot County Council because they are the ones that make the land use decisions. And I very deeply am committed to cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay and preparing our county for dealing with rising sea levels and land subsidence. My car was flooded out like 2 weeks ago, leaving a meeting. We're dealing with this all the time, and we need to make sure we're prepared for it. So that was why the council, being the one that makes those land use and water management decisions, was the right call. But absolutely, yeah, as Jared intimated, my mom is a longtime Democratic activist. My boyfriend works for the state party. My dad is a treasurer and wonderful photographer and event planner of the party at this point. Several of my best friends work for the party as well. Growing up, I was known as the political one among my friend group, and something happened in 2016. Like I said, I want to stay away from national politics, so I'll let you guys guess what. But a lot of my friends started calling me, being like, okay, what do we do? How do we help? And I was like, go local. I promise you, just like the wonderful LSPC, wherever you are, I have friends up in Massachusetts, I have friends down in Florida, wherever you are, I promise you there are already organizers ready and working on issues that are important. Just go hook up with them. They'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I was in Tillman today, and I was telling everybody that, I'm interviewing Michelle Dappert tonight. What are some questions that you would want to ask a county council person? And some people even, like one guy said that he works with your dad. So
my dad works for Habitat for Humanity too. He has a lot of hats.
Yeah. So the big issue that is happening in Tillman is the rentocracy of Western Shore people turning Tillman, this peninsula in general, the Eastern Shore in general, into a short-term rentocracy. This is particularly affecting this area because it's very affluent here, and for that reason, poor people are getting edged out of bidding wars, with chicken neckers just padding their asset portfolios, So for that reason, we have worker shortages at many businesses around here in the area. Could you talk to me about how the county council interacts with short-term rentals? What can be done? What can be done about housing in Talbot County in general?
Yeah, no, I think those are two different and very important issues. So 4 years ago, the county council created the short-term rental board, which is, I'll just keep calling it the board from now on. And they developed a licensing requirement. So under that, the board, a property owner who leases their property with like Airbnb or VRBO, but not a bed and breakfast or not an inn capacity, has to have a license to do so and has to require a minimum stay of 3 days. But that was basically it. And look, it's a complex issue because on the one hand, short-term rentals can definitely stimulate tourism, local jobs, and income for property owners, and increase licensing fees for the county. But on the other, it reduces housing availability for residents, increases traffic, road use, environment, pollution, and can of course alter the quality of life in these neighborhoods, and particularly Tillman Island. I know, there's one area where there's 8 houses and 4 of them are now short-term rentals. So like it's indisputable that has affected the quality and the quality of life and the character of that neighborhood. So what I strongly believe is that if there is no one size fits all approach, and that a board like this is a good idea, they just need to be given additional restrictions, right? Because if you're talking about a property that has a half acre and you can hear them 10 feet away from you in your living room versus a property that's on 20 acres in the middle of the back roads and like nobody can hear you and doesn't care, like those are just completely different situations. So maybe on the one where it's 20 acres and you're in the back, you can have somebody for just a weekend, but maybe on the ones where it's 10 feet away, it should be more like you have to require at least a week-long stay. So those types of restrictions could be placed at a custom level, the way that the ordinance is currently written, as long as the council was to provide more guidance to the short-term rental. And that would be what I would want to implement, as well as just encourage these additional recommendations to really secure that rural character and make sure that we are promoting growth in a way that just manages it overall, so we don't change the character of these neighborhoods. You know, if there's already 2 in there, just look for another property, guys.
Yeah. Could you talk about the short-term rental board a little bit? Because people were saying that it's, yeah, so there is some red tape that people have to go through to apply for a short-term rental.
Yeah.
I think there's 5 people on the board, and it sounds like there's like a few of them are realtors themselves, so that kind of seems like conflict of interest stuff to me.
Yes, that is I don't know how familiar you are, but that's a historical truth, I think, in Talbot County. Our previous council president themselves was also a realtor board. So this is kind of a long-standing problem, I think, that these boards then get stacked with people who probably have these conflicts of interest. So I would also look to minimize and make sure that we address issues like that. So if you're a realtor, you shouldn't be able to sit on boards like this, right? Or if so, you have to divest yourself from issues that might immediately impact you. So if it's a house you own, you can't be the one ruling on it, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And all right, so the statute itself, some have definitely said that it grants the board little flexibility in imposing restrictions. That's not the way I read it. It's just that there's no guidance given. The way I don't think the law needs to change itself, just more guidance be given from the council. But we also need to do more to increase the transparency and accountability. So if the board, I know some people have said, and I would have to check the numbers, that they haven't refused a single license, right? That they're just kind of a rubber stamp. So that would not, you know, if in any case there's ever a board that is never denying something, I would think that there's a problem with the regulations they've been given, right? If they're just, because what's the point of a board if you're just going to always grant it, right?
Yes, that's what they're saying, is that overwhelmingly they pretty much approve everything, and the only like fee that these short-term rentals have to pay, I think, was $400.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
You know, and that fee seems to be way too small to de-incentivize this type of property usage. You know, which is what I'm getting at, is undernourishing the communities, is taking homes away from stakeholders. So just to flesh out your positions on the STRs, you would be in favor of not electing realtors to the STR board and increasing the fee in order for people who are engaging in this activity.
So what I would want to say before I go on record of increasing a fee is I would want to look at comparable fees in similar county, you know, other counties surrounding. Maybe Jared can pump in with if he knows what Wacomico's is, but I would want to make sure that we're competitive and that we're, you know, if ours is way lower, that we did increase that. But, you know, I don't want to jump it up something that is not in line with what other people are spending as well. So.
In terms of Wacomico, I can't say I know on the top of my head. I do know we have an issue where not only do we have a bunch of realtors in positions of power like that, we have actual slumlords in positions of power. So I'd say it might be a little bit worse down here in Wacomico County. Speaking of major issues,
I was just gonna. There's a couple people I could think of that might qualify under that. No longer on the board, but
yeah, it's definitely been a major issue.
Before we slip off of short-term rentals too, let me just also say that my fellow county council candidate, Scott Kane, is a former president of the short-term rentals board. So he is deeply committed and well aware of the problems. And we have discussed the need for increased affordability or transparency and accountability in this process. So I'd encourage you also to speak to Scott on this. But.
Yeah, thank you for that. We'll definitely. I think you were the one who actually introduced me to Scott at an event before, so we'll definitely look to bring him on. Speaking of
great guy, former mayor, great guy.
Speaking on a little bit of a different topic, but has been pretty controversial in Talbot County over the last couple of years, very similar to Wacomico County. There was a big fight over the Confederate monument on the courthouse lawn. So this is a two-part question. Number one, how do you feel about what happened with the Confederate monument? And as a county council woman, how will you work to kind of bridge some of those racial issues, racial divides that are happening, not only just in Talbot County, but up and down the shore?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So as you pointed out in my bio, I actually volunteered with Move the Monument. So I really do applaud the council's bipartisan commission that went forward and moved the monument under sustained pressure from activists like me asking them to do so. It moved to a home which is where those soldiers fought and died. So I really don't understand how that can't be preserving history, right? And beyond that, I really think that, with that issues closed, I'm really eager to look back to fighting for, competitive pay for teachers, increasing the land use regulations, and making sure that we continue to protect our environment here, and other local issues with that issue having been settled. But as far as racial equity, which is definitely something that is not settled, and that was not something that I would say just moving a monument achieves. That was a good first step. But I'm looking at different ways that we could be hiring more diverse teachers, because right now, something like 33% of Talbot County Public Schools have kids who don't speak English, but then the predominant overall structure of teachers there are white women. And to close that achievement gap, we really need to make sure that the teachers we hire reflect the student body itself, right? And that students have examples of successful kids or people that look like them, and that representation matters in that regard, as well as improving the lives of the teachers of people who work here and live here. Competitive pay is a pretty significant problem for our public schools right now. They have not been funded since I was 16 in the way they should be, and probably long before that. And so as far as the achievement gap, I really do want to make sure that we can look at every possible way to increase diversity itself and diversity training in the school, as well as at the county itself. So part of the Move the Monument process also was bringing up diversity training for county officials and public servants. There was some rancor over the idea, and it was dropped. I would like to bring that back. I do believe that the county itself needs to reconcile with a history that is, or the son of, Frederick Douglass is our native son. We have wonderful history, but we also have a history of racism. And until we start to address that in a upfront manner, we're never going to get anywhere. So
another kind of big issue, a little bit moving kind of away to a different topic, is broadband issues.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Talbot, whether it's Wacomico, how, if you're elected to the council, will you look to kind of improve internet access and that the equality that comes with it, the business opportunities that come with it?
Yeah, so that is a great question, because the good news is that Talbot County has actually unanimously supported awarding the $1.75 million of the American Recovery Plan. So thank you, President Biden, to make the expansion of broadband more affordable here. And the recovery plan is going to partner with Easton Utilities, and that adds to the fact we were already awarded a $13 million grant from the USDA Rural Connect funds, which actually came from an Obama program. So basically, when you tie all these dollars together, we are funded to in the nenext 5 or 6 years have 100% access in Talbot County, which will be the first county in Maryland to do so. So the next step is, because that's great news, and I really do want to applaud the current council and everyone who has worked on that program, as well as I'm going to give a shout out to one of my volunteers, Rudy, who is working on laying the actual fiber optic cable with his dad's company for broadband access. But the next step of that is, okay, great. We're going to have broadband access now here, but we should look at what we're going to be doing with that, right? So I was reading this article about this town in Kentucky that it has one traffic light, but it also has some of the strongest, most fastest internet in the country. And what they did was partner with the Teleworks organization that has brought in the last 3 years 300 jobs to this rural. It's as rural as you can imagine. And they're all working remotely. It's taking advantage of having the infrastructure that we shortly will have here in Talbot. And we should look to do anything like that, because it's really an economic development tool. It encourages telehealth, telework, telemedicine. Like I said, I work remotely. So all of these are things that we will be able to look forward to enjoying because of the expanded broadband access we have. We just need to, on the next council, make sure we look at companies like Telework or hubs. And I mean, Amazon is one of the ones in this other Kentucky town that is investing as well. So I just think that, it's not enough just to have the access. It's great that we're going to. I'm very excited about it, but we need to look forward into what we can enable with that access. It's really just the groundwork for what can be used as an economic development tool in the county. And with that, it also brings me to our need to modernize our digital infrastructure overall. As I mentioned up top, I'm very much the youngest candidate running, so I'm probably the only one who's looking at certain parts of this, but I don't think this is just a youth issue in any way, shape, or form, because when you go to our county council website, so for example, I was looking for our minutes from the last county council meeting, which was on August 9th, earlier today. They're still not online. You cannot find them. The last county council minutes that are up are from July 12th, which is a full month out. And there's just no reason for it in this day and age. We should be able to have the minutes go up within a day or two with the post to the video that went live on YouTube while it was streaming right away available with, accessibility, closed captions on, so that people can find what they need. A similar example would be there's 3 tabs down. You can get to the application for council or for county facilities. Like if you want to rent the gazebo at Idlewild Park for a party, you can get the application, but you can't apply online. The only other thing besides the application itself on the website is the rules and a phone number. There's no email, there's no address, there's nothing, there's no instructions about what to do with the form you download. So like, if you go through the website, at least that's the way I've gone through it, there's just like page after page of issues and problems. And we really need to improve the infrastructure of our digital services that as a whole, we can be providing a better quality of life to our citizens. There's no reason in this day and age that you use the search function to find what happened 2 weeks ago at the county council, or download a permit and just immediately apply online.
So, yeah, it looks like we have a couple questions from the chat. Michelle Johnson asked, what can be done at this point about Lakeside Trap? It's a failure of government at every level. I'm not sure how she feels about that.
Could you be a little more honest, Michelle, please?
And hey, Michelle, it's great to see you. I love others who spell the name the correct way, as I lose the votes of everybody who spells it.
Oh, really? Really? The one L is like a big deal for Michelle's. Okay.
It is a big deal, yes.
I appreciate that, because as a Brian, the Bryans that have a Y in their name are basically subhuman. You know what I mean? So like.
All right, I wouldn't go that far, but
I will go that far. Okay, if you want to ostracize the double L voters right now, they were, no, I'm just messing. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. No, and it's a great question. Honestly, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, from a county council level, there really isn't much that can be done at this point, because it has kind of moved to the lawsuit with MDE, which I fully support. But the Lakeside development saga in particular kind of highlights the need for electing a county council that is going to pay attention to the comprehensive plan in the first place. Our comprehensive plan states that the undeveloped and working agricultural lands are precious resources that are critical to the rural character and quality of life in all of Talbot County, and as such must be preserved. And the Planning Commission has final say over whether or not a development is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. And the Planning Commission in this case, they said yes, but then what happened was there were all of these complaints from the wastewater management system in Trapp. And when that information came to light, the Planning Commission said, never mind, basically. They took back their approval of a permit because it was not in accordance with the comprehensive plan. At that point, the councils should have also done the same, and so should MDE. And I'm sorry, when I say MDE, it's Maryland Department of Environment. So because they did not, at this point, the lawsuit has to be pending, because we are kind of in uncharted territory since the Council Planning Commission said yes and then no. So whatever we see come from the courts at this point will be what we can do moving forward. But I think it overall highlights the need to make sure that people like me, who would follow the plan in the first place and not cost the county dollars in a costly litigation suit, get elected in the first place. So.
Can I go?
Yeah. Do you have a follow-up on that? Yeah.
Yeah. kind of where I get lost a little bit in the weeds on the lakeside thing is that Trap Town seems to be in favor of it, at least their commission does.
Mhm.
And I sort of get lost in the weeds a little bit in how the county council overlays on the town council and how they delegate decision making and so on and so forth. So could you talk on that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. So the council owns very limited jurisdiction to overrule the town, and that is usually in water and critical sensitive areas as designated by the comprehensive plan. So basically, if we're within an area of shoreline or if it's sewer and water hookup, then the county is involved. But otherwise, all development decisions are made by the town. And the town of Trapp has a real reason for being in favor of this. They have something like a $3.5 million debt, right? That the developer was going to come in and pay for a brand new wastewater treatment plant. So what part of the saga here and the problem was that they kind of did a bait and switch and were like, well, we're going to pay for that new plant, but after the first 120 homes. But there's nothing in the plan right now that says they have to build the 121st home. So Trapp wanting a brand new wastewater plant system, get it. I get it. Wanting to increase their affordable housing, I get it. Although I wouldn't call the $3,000 leased homes in Lakeside a affordable house. That's like 3 times my mortgage payment. But anyway, I understand why Trapp has real reasons for being in favor of it. It's been neglected by the county. As a person who came from Cordova, I totally understand that the county council, has not done what it should to protect these outlying areas of Talbot. And it is definitely a very good point to notice that the jurisdiction is really with the town in Trapp. And that's partially why, we have to see what the court says. The county really can't do anything more at this point with Lakeside. It just brings back that we should never have gotten that far in the first place.
Yeah, it seems like we have a question for Tyler from Tyler. Oh, yeah, what are your main campaign priorities? I know you've touched on a few of them, but are there anything we're missing?
No, I think so. Overall, my vision is one of Talbot where we can all be proud to be from, live in, raise our kids in, and retire to. So the one part of that is probably that I haven't gotten to is probably the retiring. We are an aging county. We have a issue of maintaining workforce, our volunteer fire departments, in our public health system, healthcare in the county. So more resources for rural health need to be provided from the county level. And that is one area of my plan that I guess I haven't talked about much here yet. But beyond that, I really just want to ensure that the county government, remains committed to pragmatic solutions to these issues of rising sea levels and rewrites the comprehensive plan next time with an eye on mitigating the situations that we're going to find ourselves in and are already finding ourselves in with flooded roads, and because it's a public safety issue, as well as advocating for competitive pay for all county and public officials. So whether it's teachers or deputies, we're starting to be more in line with deputies, but we're still way behind the curve in teacher pay. And so what's happening is we hire teachers, we train them, and then they go to Queen Anne's or they go to Centerville, they go other places because they can get better pay there. And it used to be the reverse. So, it's just a matter of keeping up with that pay and being competitive. We don't need to do things like drastically. And then my other priority is just to be investing in the digital infrastructure of our community so that we all get better services and more transparency from our government, because I think that's a significant problem that anyone right now faces. Thank you for the question.
So I kind of bouncing back to how you're a first-time candidate, what is, obviously you can't give away too many specifics because you have opponents, but, as a first-time candidate, what is kind of the things you need to win? Like, is it help knocking doors? Is it raising money? What's kind of the path?
Both. Yes, absolutely. 100%. No. Yeah. If you're interested in supporting my campaign, please go to my website, dappertfortalbot.com. Right from there, there's a button you can press for donations, or you can reach out to volunteer with door knocking or phone banking. What we're trying to ask everybody in the wake of COVID is if they can make just 60 calls at home a week. The phone bank opens at don't quote me, it's 10:30 or 11 a.m. It closes at 8:30 p.m. You can make those calls like 5 at a time on your lunch break every day. And then, as long as you make 60 a week, if even 5 people do that, we're making 300 attempts in a week. And we need to hit at least 10,000 people. So, phone banks, door knocking, and please, yes, if you can make a donation, if you're able, that is the number one way you could help me right now. So thank you for that question. That's really appreciate that.
No problem. So we're hitting about the 30-minute mark here, and I know we wanted to be respectful of your time and respectful of the folks at home. Is there any
Respectful of
kind
Game of Thrones.
I
don't
hear
watch
it
Game
starting.
of Thrones, but yeah.
So I completely missed what just said. That's why I'm looking up here like a deer in headlights. But
Oh no, Game
I'm
of
sorry,
Thrones
what?
is Game of Thrones
Oh,
is starting.
Game of Thrones. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not hear it. It was just me on screen looking dumb. All right, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michelle, because of, I guess, that and other things, is there any kind of closing thoughts you wanted to share with folks? Feel free to put in the comments in the private chat your website, and I'll go ahead and put it in the comments for folks to see. But yeah, we definitely want to hand it back over to you for some closing thoughts before we end.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I want to say again, thank you to Brian and Jared and Tyler for offering to have me on tonight. And it's great to see some people here. From a closing argument perspective, I really just want to drive home that the thing we're noticing, even in Talbot County, is there is a rising commitment to anti-democracy. And the only way that you can fight that is to vote and to get out and to be involved. And that is what I'm doing, and that's what I hope you will do too. Anyone who shows up to volunteer or donate or just vote and tell 5 friends to vote, you are fighting a force of fascism right now, and we need to be committed at every level, local, state, and federal, to support and believe in, and then doing your part to support them. So I really appreciate, again, this opportunity, and thank you so much for talking with me tonight. And please do go to my website and vote Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for joining, for sharing. We did put this link in a couple of the Talbot pages. Actually, speaking of support bases, your mother texted me midstream like, "Hey, I'm at a retirement party. Can I watch this later?" So you are going to have some folks watching this a little later, and
I was one calling.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you all so much for watching. We will let you all know soon when Shore Issues will be back with another stream. I hope everyone has a wonderful week and continues to stay safe. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, guys.
Take care.